and welcome back to game number 3 of tonight's Zenith squad PMCO scrims. We are now in Vikendi after an incredibly fast-paced game number 2. As always, you're with me, Ab Summer, and the incredible HighlandWolf.
Thank you for having me once again. We got now the winter map of Vikendi, getting a bit chilly and cold here. And I tell you what, it's going to be a beautiful game for sure. If it's going to be anything like the last one we saw, Kanina Power just coming off that shit in Sandhawk, and I think where his playing path goes. Might see a little bit of a mean Vikendi, might see a bit of a nice Vikendi, who knows?
If I'm honest, I want to see a mean Vikendi. I want to see these teams getting the landscape involved, and I think that would be brilliant if they do. But, Highland, can you give us a bit of insight on this flight path?
Yeah, so this flight path will go over from Trevno down to Milnar, so it's going to be really great for the likes of Codex, who like to drop straight down on to Peshkova, and also perhaps goes for the side of Time to Shine. Here going to be picking over towards the edge of the bridge to Cosmodrome and Coal Mine, and most likely, perhaps if they hold off again, really key for the likes of BetX, who love to drop in the castle. A really interesting location alongside a couple of these other teams, Phaser and Red Reserve around it. So I think a couple of these teams, they're going to be really happy with this playing path, but the likes of Scrim Farm, for the likes of even, should I say, a Polar Ace here, they're going to be not so happy with it, because their current lovely locations they like to drop to, not going to be inside of it.
And you mentioned Castle a moment ago, and strange enough, looking at the map, what we're seeing at the moment is a split already from the BetX Romania team. But with Castle, there are so many kind of creeks and crevices and places for them to hide and places for them to manoeuvre around. So I think that will really play to their advantage. And although it is out of zone at the moment, is in a really good spot, because a lot of these teams will probably use these bridges, and that will be where BetX gets the chance to shine. They've got that high ground, they can gatekeep these brilliantly, and I really hope we see that.
Well, it will be UDR Killers going to be struggling here against the side of Dream Eaters over in Garoka, as it will lose 2 members and Nano will fall. Unfortunately, the gun goes picked up first by Dream Eaters, and Matic will probably find a third one. Yes, they will find it so, and Focus the O5 surely to go down. Unfortunately, though, Focus with a double kill here managed to return kills, and that will be Matic trying to finish him off, but Pocus has kept his team alive and putting the pressure away from those first onto the rest of UDR, but won't be enough, and Matic takes that final kill, and along with 4 kills in total for Dream Eaters starting off.
And I am now looking at BFS. They have a member knocked at the moment. They have BFS, Bep, who is not. Now BFS are going up against the X team over in the northern direction at North 15. So X team are taking that compound at the moment and using that to their advantage. We have 1 member of BFS knocked, as I just mentioned. 2 of them are on really low health. We have BFS Ferdy, who is the better placed player at the moment, with his health being as it is, and the fact that he is on the right-hand side, getting that rotation round to try and take X team by surprise, and then Zombie goes down. So he's played it brilliantly so far, and we are looking at a split with the X team at the moment. We have 1-1 split, I believe. Yes, we do. And I think on times, the splits can be really helpful. You know, they can allow you to get rotations. They can allow you to kind of sneak up on other teams. But at the same time, if a player gets knocked in a split, then it's going to be very hard for the other teammate to get to them and get a revive. And I think that is why the X team have lost 3 players so far, with Nightmare, now the last standing member of the X team, are making the really wise decision to retreat.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. BFS, they stick together as a team and they really pick off X team one by one. And down they go, 3 kills towards BFS starting off. And this is an interesting zone as well, we haven't been able to talk about just yet, is it will be going towards the western side. So a couple of these teams like Codex, who decide to love to drop over to Peshkova, they have that marathon sprint you talked about.
And looking at them, they may have to come into contact with KDV, with Clay GLA, and with BetX Romania, who we mentioned just at the beginning, being at Castle. And I think this is where we're going to see things like the coastline being used really, really well here. They can use the ridges, they can use the trees, the mountains, they can use this landscape to really pick off some of the teams and some of the really, skilled team members. And as you mentioned, these are PMCOs. These are the skilled players, the best of the best in some sense. And I think tonight, we're only in Game 3, but we have seen some incredible gameplay. And I really do think that we're in the I think this is going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, we only have, 6 different teams inside. And I'm really impressed with Gaijin's rotation. They avoid BetX over onto Castle between Tovar. And they do manage to find their positioning over Mavasha. That will help them just to relieve a little bit of pressure throughout the next zone or two. As these teams will still have to rotate rounds who aren't currently inside the zone. But I think it will be interesting, as you say, to see how Codex fight through. I think the best option for them is just to go straight past Podvosto, perhaps into the zone, and a direct line over towards Villa would be the best opportunity to avoid all these teams around the outskirts. And equally, I think we could see a little bit of danger, though, come out against Dream Eaters, because they do have a couple of teams that could go over to Garocca, and they're sat between two of them right now with X-Team Nightmare and Unicorns of Love to the south.
And what we are seeing at the moment is Unicorns of Love and the last remaining member of X Team sandwiching the Dream Eaters team. And keeping in mind that there is only one team member of the X Team left, the X Team may be able to use this as to their advantage by using the Unicorns of Love as their weapons, really. Allowing Unicorns of Love to get the knocks and then creeping in. And maybe that will make the fact that they've lost 3 team members all the worthwhile if they manage to get a few kills because of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does look like Unicorns Love it. Don't want to look at that fight, but instead down towards Castle will be BetX versus GLA. They're trying to find a little bit of a pick of their own. BetX putting a couple gunshots over onto Hardboy, and GLA, they look like they want to recuperate, move position, perhaps around the flank side of BetX.
And what we're seeing at the moment is GLA inside the red zone. And as I always say, the red zone is not there to make friends. But we see a 2-2 split with BetX Romania at the moment. We have Dexter and WWS on the right-hand side towards southeast. And then we have the remaining members of BetX on the other side. Now, because they may be coming up against a 4-member team, I think this is probably the wisest split they could do. We're having a 2v2. If one gets knocked, the other team member can get them up. But what we are seeing is GLA constantly moving. And the fact that they have 2 separate vehicles, I think that might be a little bit misleading if they do come across another team.
Yeah, definitely. And X-Team Nightmare, they have to be careful. We get a little bit close to Matic in the north side. And I think this is just going to be a very quiet for now Game 3, Abs. And I think we do have to wait for these teams to rotate a little bit closer into this zone. Of course, it is just rotations now. Teams not going to be willing to fight. But GLA, they move away from BetX and perhaps straight on top of the Unicorns of Love here. Going to be a little bit of a risky rotation.
And what I will just mention at the moment is something you said. And already shots are being fired as Unicorns of Love go up against GLA. They're on the move, but they are being fired at. Their team members are being hurt. Now we have a split going on with the Unicorns of Love at the moment. We have Hayes and Fabi just getting into a vehicle and moving over towards the other members of Unicorns of Love. We have GLA on the right-hand side. They have decided to retreat. They may have not been prepared for this. They may not have the loot they want to have. But they have decided this was not a wise decision. So they have moved away. And Unicorns of Love are now trying to hold the compound. And if we look at the map, it is near enough centre to the zone. They do have GLA to the left. They have Red Reserve under them as well as Gaijin. And I believe that is also the Real Deal. So they could be in for a very action-packed fight very, very shortly. But they are trying to give themselves the best opportunity by preparing for it. And that is something we really don't see a lot of. Teams preparing for fights. A lot of these teams just seem to loot and just take what they're given. But these guys are really looting what they need.
Yeah, and I think this is, of course, a proactive rotation from GLA. But if you do, as you say, have to be careful because with so many teams around them, and as you say, with Red Reserve now coming round to the flank side of them, they have to be careful if this zone does continue. We'll have to wait. It will, as I want to continue to go against them here. So Unicorns of Love, Gaijin also going to be fighting the Real Deal right now down to the south of this zone. The Real Deal lose one member, Gaijin still up.
And we are looking at Jay, who is not for Gaijin. We have Gaijin using the rooftops to their advantage, getting that height. And now they are trying to shoot towards the Real Deal. We have 3 members sticking together as a close-knit unit, trying to push towards Gaijin, making them feel the pressure and hopefully getting them to slip up. And if we now just look at the bird's eye view, there is smoke everywhere. Their vehicle has now been exploded, so they cannot make an exit that way. So they will either have to fight or flight. And I really think the flight is now off the table entirely. So we have Gaijin just moving round to the right slightly. We have Spray trying to rotate to the left to take Sedgwick by surprise. Now we have Jay beside, and then we have AZ and Clown on the right-hand side by Mitchie. We have Molly's being thrown over, just missing target as it lands on the roof. And now we have Sedgwick just preparing another to go. We have Jay who's moved over to the left. We have Spray staying put towards 355 at the moment. So all of these teams, they seem to be just standing there waiting. They don't want to make the first move. So I think they're just going to see who moves first and then taking whatever opportunity is given to them.
Well, we will see teams fighting right now. It'll be Scrim Farm versus Codex up towards Dobromesto. And that will be Codex looking like they're trying to find one. A grenade going in wide, but will be dodged out by Luki. And Scrim Farm, they'll have to be a bit careful here because Codex, they still have 2 members up. Although it's only 2, they have a little bit of a better position because it is still a 2-2 split from Scrim Farm. The numbers are even.
And Codex Weight is just being revived at the moment, and he is now up. So it is now a 3-man team going up against Scrim Farm. And now all the Scrim Farm members have come together, with the last just making their way in now. So it looks as though it will be a 4v3. And Codex have the property at the moment. They have the building. They have that essence of cover. And it looks as though the Scrim Farm are not pushing in just yet. They are waiting to regroup as a 4 and will then start to move in. And now with Jody just arriving in by Dacia and looks to be making the first move in on the ground floor. A grenade is then thrown. A molly is thrown downstairs but doesn't do any damage as nobody's there at the moment. We have Jody just taking cover in the building. And on the left-hand side, we can see the Real Deal getting another kill. But we are with Scrim Farm and Kodak. A grenade is thrown, but inside the wrong room, as Fowler is next door. And Jody then takes cover again as another smoke grenade, I believe, is then thrown just to give Fowler the chance to move location and blocks the view of Jody. And now Wade comes down and tries to get the knock. And it's Wade who is knocked by Jody. And then Fowler gets a knock on Jody. And that is Jody down. Another kill for Codex. And then Codex takes down Abstract 2. And that is Fowler getting the finish. It is 2 kills for Codex at the moment. And with 1 member of Scrim Farm left, and we now see that he is running in and trying to get the knock and using the smoke to their advantage. It is 2v1 and Fowler gets knocked, but it is Lucy who comes in with a saving shot. We have 2 members of Codex down at the moment, but it is a 3-kill fight and they are successful at the moment. But looking at this, they are now being pushed by Polar Ace.
I know. Like, they're not done yet. Codex need to get back up and they need to sit up here and respect Polar Ace who now come in. Scrim Farm, unfortunately, Jody's aggression wasn't enough to keep him alive, and I think Pekka going down was kind of the fall of Scrim Farm. They were down to 1 member. They needed rotations in. They didn't really come together as a 4-man squad to take that advantage of a Codex, but Polar Ace are going again like Scrim Farm tried. Will it work out?
And I really hope it does. I think Codex have earned it a little bit. But thank God you came in when you did, Highland, because saying all that on one breath is not easy at all.
Yeah, you need to breathe. Actually, I don't need you need to go unconscious on me here. I'm not going to be able to resuscitate you here, so... Polar Aso, they will find one on to wait. He will need to be resuscitated by Fowler, and that might just be the go action for Polar Ace. Right now is Ked moving around the outskirts of the building. Can Polar Ace find him? They're all inside. They're trying to find Dan onto the stairs. It will be Polar Ace wiped out by Polar Ace, and they just storm the building and take them down.
That grenade throw was like nothing I have ever seen. I was right there. The grenade hit him. Perfect shot and took him down. And then, like nothing, Polar Ace just ran for it. They rushed in. They didn't care. They shot and they shot and they shot. And they got the kills. And that is why they've got 7 kills at the moment. They are just taking every opportunity given to them. And amazingly enough, I know Vikendi's is relatively a good sized map. But everybody is really close together and it is not stopping for 2 seconds. And here we go. We have now got Kanina Power getting in on the action and getting some knocks on the left-hand side.
Well, Gaijin will be the ones that fall first, as Michi will be down, but Kanina Power, the victors for the second game, can he find Sedgwick? They're running in, but Sedgwick jumps outside. The grenade gonna go wide. Sedgwick trying to find one. Can we find a second? No, they can't. Sedgwick will fall down. Only Adobo surviving, but Adobo's not there inside the fight. Needs to perhaps try and make this a 2 versus 1 situation before Gonzo is revived. And now with Pixie there trying to survive onto Gonzo, perhaps Adobo should look equally onto Sedgwick, but with Axa trying to cut him off, it's going to be difficult. Now onto a 3 versus 1 situation. Adobo on the other side, Sedgwick will just bleed out. Tixie going to be rotating around the flank. Can Adobo do it? They're going to try shoot, but Adobo goes back inside. And Avs, they're trying their best, but Adobo slipping away every time.
And they are using smokes at the moment. Gaijin is trying to create as many options to cover. Oh my god. Axa with that grenade. What is this? Grenades are coming in left, right and centre. It's like that's their weapon of choice today.
Yeah, well, I do love some grenade action. Blow the heck out of Adobo there, and so will Unicorns and Love ride over the enemies here as GLA will be taken down in 10th position as well. So now down to just 9 teams, 28 players alive, 17 minutes inside of the game, and his zone still looking pretty dangerous, and it's going to shift once again into phase 5. Now coming in is, well, we will have to look at really BFS with the best advantage right now, especially if this zone continues west.
And looking at the zone at the moment, it is still cutting off the major compounds. We had Dobermesto inside, and now that's been cut off too. We have the bottom half. But again, I think we might be seeing another open finish. And I think that is where the grenade shots are going to be really plentiful. And we've seen some incredible shots so far. So I am really excited about what's going to come next. And again, the zone has changed.
Yeah, phase 5, here we are. BFS still in control of Dobermesto. They will be able to keep control for one more zone at least. Bloodline, they're in a good position here, but equally a little bit dangerous because Paul ahead of them, KDV behind them, and also Dream Eaters maybe going to look for their own compound here. The play zone will finish off one there. We have to also recognise the play zone. Going to get a little bit dangerous now for these teams. They need to be making these proactive rotations, and they're going to cut off Clean Power. That might just be the fight that will keep Clean Power inside of the blue zone.
And we are looking at Dexter, BAM and WWS just moving in by vehicle. They look to have abandoned the fight with Kanina Power, so they now have another opportunity to get in. But in saying that, they will be coming up against Red Reserve. It looks as though we may have lost Tixie, who is now using a first aid kit, but the zone is doing a lot of damage, so it will be difficult for them to get into zone without being knocked. And with the zone now moving, it is going to be a really hard job. But let's have a quick look now at the BetX team as they are now driving up upon BFS, who are just on the outside of this small warehouse at the moment. They are moving in. 30 has been spotted by BAM, so BAM is now firing with the M4, and 30 has just managed to take cover. We have purple up ahead. It looks as though we have Hope just on the outside.
Yeah, Stay Hope there will be keeping an eye out. I'm surprised that Stay Hope didn't reveal their position. He had a direct shot onto Bam. It would have been a little bit difficult for Bet to come around and finish him off, considering he did have the wall there. Bam will be finished off, though, by Unicorns of Love. So Unicorns of Love, a third party now coming into this fight, is really going to affect, unfortunately, Bet X to try to find a way outside of this zone, as it does shift in favour of Unicorns of Love. Now we're going to, as you say, be that open zone that these players need to try find some angle into.
And I don't think I've ever been that surprised as I was seeing Hate Hope just outside of their warehouse. But what we're now seeing is the BetX team going up against both Unicorns of Love as well as the BFS team. We have an incredible split with BFS at the moment with a 2-1-1. We have 30 nearest to Hate, but Hate is in a really, I would say, vulnerable position at the moment. He has 3 members of BetX nearby. They don't appear to have noticed him at the moment. So he might be in a really good spot. Smoke's now being thrown, so that may give them an indication, as it has. And Hate is now being fired at, but moves into another smoke cloud and manages just to get below the ridge and takes cover behind the rock. Now, keeping in mind they have got KDV over towards 40 nearest northeast. We have now got Polar Ace over at 75 alongside Kanina Power. And then we have Red Reserve and Unicorns of Love over at 130. So we are at the 20-minute mark. So we are more than over halfway. We still have 9 teams playing and 26 players. So it's still very much all to play for. And Highland, the zone has changed again.
Yeah, the zone has changed once again, and BFS will make their way inside. But will they have to fight? Who will they have to fight very shortly? Is KTV Impress moving straight on top of BFS, trying to look for a new angle? But might just down here so low, but does manage to find safety net behind this rock, behind Unicorns of Love. BetX surely going to fall down to this now phase 6 zone as Unicorns of Love gatekeep them out of the game. Polar Ace also trying to find a way across this road, but this road, interestingly enough, separating Bloodline and Polar Ace away from the rest of these teams.
And it looks as though at the moment the third party is really in. And the play zone is getting involved too. We now have Unicorns of Love going up against BFS, getting some knocks there. And let's just have a quick look as we see at the moment that BFS Bep is knocked. 30 was damaged, but he's just managed to heal up. And we have lost Sep, so it's now 3 members for Team BFS. And they are going up against the Unicorns of Love over at 185 South. We have Purple looting at the moment inside the smoke, using that to his advantage. And now taking the vehicle. A questionable move, I would say, with it being as open as it is, but is now moving into zone. Takes cover by the rock, but puts himself in the firing line of Polar Ace, along with KDV, who are just on the left-hand side. And we are seeing that Unicorns of Love are outside of zone at the moment with 1 member inside. We still have KDV inside too, taking them on. And we have BFS firing towards them with Polar Ace just coming up behind.
And KDV is doing so much work, deleting away 2 members of Unicorns of Love. Now only Hayes and Like It going to be able to try do anything in this game. His Reprisal likely will fall down. I don't think those smokes will be enough to save him. His Impress laser focus right now, but also laser focus from Polar Ace as they finish off State Hope, and only 30 left. Will mark perhaps now an engage moment for Polar Ace to get across the road, finish off BFS and secure himself a position inside the final 5. Polar Ace, they finish off now another member, only 30 Purple behind them. Can they try find an angle in? Yes, they do get across the road, but as you say, this zone going to be continuing to be so difficult as Impress also going to continue to really put a pain now onto only 2 members of Unicorns of Love.
And Unicorns of Love, Reprisa is knocked at the moment with Hayes, the last standing member, just across at South. They have done a split, and that is where the disadvantage comes in. But BFS are now going up against Polar Ace and get a knock there. We now have KDV going up against, I believe, Bloodline, and they are now taken down, if I'm right.
KDV is destroying this game. team to team impress with the impressive plays as Unicorns of Love. They might just need to try and find another way around as Reprise are going to be knocked down once again, this time by BFS, and BFS down just to 30 here as Polar Ace move in. Impress doesn't have to worry about Red Reserve, they will likely fall down to this zone, and now just Unicorns of Love, if they fall, Impress could be the one taking his chicken dinner.
And Polar Ace get the finish on BFS 30. So that is now BFS out of play for game number 3. We now have our top 4. We still have Red Reserve who are out in the zone, but they're still alive. We have Unicorns of Love with 2 members standing. We have KDV 2. And obviously we have Polar Ace, and they are still giving it a fighting shot. We've got them moving towards KDV. We have Hayes pushing on the left-hand side. And Hayes gets the kill on KDV Impress.
Barely, but it's going to achieve. Unicorns of Love finally delete Impress away from this game. And Polar Ace make this now a 2 versus 2. But Ked on the flank side, can he find Hayes? Can Reprise be taken down by Elusive? We'll just have to see, Abs.
And we have Elusive taking cover behind the rock at the moment, near to the drop. A molly was thrown by Repriser, but just manages to hit that tree. And Ked has just taken down Hayes and gets the kill. So it's Repriser. Oh my god, he takes down Ked of Polar Ace. It's now Repriser against Elusive, and Elusive is pushing up, and that is it.
That is it indeed. And Unicorns of Love, they get rid of Impress, they get rid of Polar Ace, and take the chicken dinner for the 3rd game. And Unicorns of Love, that looks a little bit dicey for them, but they do manage to find that 3rd game win.
The odds were against them, but Unicorns of Love, they earned that win. And we can't deny that Polar Ace did a really good job. They got those kills. As we can see, they got 11 kills in game 3. And Red Reserve, they got 1, but they were 3rd place, And I think that's the thing about this game. It's not always about the kills. It's about the placement too. And I think they really worked the landscape to their advantage. And that is why they got the position that they did. In KDV, they're 4th this time round. They won game 1. They've been consistent tonight, I think. Fair enough, in game 2, they did, unfortunately, by coming 12th. But, everyone has a bad day. And I think that was just their bad game for this scrim. And then we have BFS. And then we have BetX Romania. These are all really well-established teams. And I think tonight they are really proving why.
Yeah, definitely have to agree. And we go back now on to Erangel for the final game coming up. Unfortunately, of course, we didn't get a first game, but if we have anything like what we did get to see ourselves have in the first game with that kind of south zone rotations and really the bottlenecks of these teams rotating in, that would be great to see once again.
It will be like we've got 2 games in 1. As we just mentioned, that was game 3. So please stay with us, and we'll be back in just a moment for game number 4. The last game in tonight's Zenith Squad Scrims. You're with Ab Summer and HighlandWolf. So we will be back very, very shortly.